Hi, and thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend's son, whose accent I tried to mimic in this story. I was scared to put it out, and she encouraged me to go for it. That was her quote. I hope you enjoy it, and remember to put in the comments any authors, artists, musicians, really all types of creators who you feel represent that community. No links, no hate speech. Thank you, and remember, you're a wonderful story in motion. The storm is blowing loudly against the window on this cold, moonless night. Because of course it is. Every damn time I have to walk to a sinner's house, it's storming. It's like God, gods, or whomever has control up there has a sense of irony. I pack up my small bag with my shot glass, my crackers with the school's emblem embossed on them, my wet wipes, my oil pastels, and my tiny black book that holds all the spells and symbols for tonight. I grab my broken umbrella, which half opens regularly while the other half falls limp, like it crashed into a wall. Head down, coat on, broken umbrella in hand, I make my way out the door. The wind immediately wallops me with small frozen water droplets, causing my exposed skin to sting and freeze. I'd been in a sour mood all day when I got the assignment for my last sinner, Sister Yara da Silva, the famous sin eater for the rich and powerful. Now I'm the poor fool assigned to consume her sins. They tell me it's because I'm young. I should be able to handle the level of sin without it pushing me into death, which can happen if you eat too many too quickly. We eaters don't have long lives, but it's our calling, our purpose. Eater souls can hold more sins than the average souls. They also have the ability to cleanse the sins through rituals, repenting, and prayer. These experiences balance us. Even after all that work, there's still darkness on the eater's soul. Even after all that work, there's still darkness on the eater's soul. With every clearing, a little more is added to the darkness, slowly snuffing out their life. My life. Our teacher told us that as women, we were the first to cast sin by consuming the forbidden fig, letting sin out of its confinement. He said that we were blessed to be able to right this infraction we wrought upon the world, which is bullshit. I would never bestow this blessing onto anyone. Some people get to decide who they are in the world, but for most of us, the world decides for us. I was sold to the Schola Peccatum Vescor by my parents when they couldn't afford another mouth to feed. The school molded me, shaped me into their image. Making it through to graduation was not easy. Most kids don't last their first year. They don't all die. Don't get me wrong, plenty of them do. But for a few, it's just life-changing injuries. The ones who get terribly injured go to the hospital, which can also be a prolonged death sentence. However, I've heard some of them, when they heal enough, can even get adopted, if they're lucky. Since we're school property until 18 years of age, no one ever checks on us. Since we are school property until 18 years of age, no one ever checks on how they're treating us. The graveyard in the back of the school is just an open field. No gravestones, just grass covering an unknown number of children. The field of dead is where I grew up playing football. It was a good thing I wasn't relying on a sports scholarship for my future. As I walk across the campus, my eyes gaze over to my right, watching the rain pelt the same body-soiled field. I can see the field from the window of my small, warm room that I wish I was in right now. One more day before I can get out of here and be on my own. I'll still be a sin eater. It's the only thing I can do, but at least I won't have to live here. I even get to keep a portion of the money I earn. After graduation, I ate my first sin. Since I survived, I was moved into the dreadful adult dorms. Life in the adult dorms is the exact same as the children's dorm, except you have 2 roommates instead of 6, and no random nightly check-ins from the mistress. They still do have bed and locker checks once a month, though. Being a person of such luck, I started my career in massive debt, like most people. Everyone who graduates owes the school 5 years of servitude. 5 years where we eat the sins of whomever they tell us to, and all proceeds go into the school's pocket. Apparently, I have to pay them back for purchasing me. My soul wasn't enough for them. I'm at the end of my mandatory servitude. I was almost done, and now I have to consume the sin of one of the most prolific eaters. I know what I have to do, what I was shaped to do, but damn it if I'm not going to complain the whole time. The school does not provide a car, and this late at night, no buses are running, even if I had the money to take one. No matter which direction I turn, the wind keeps changing, whipping the rain into my face. The gods must be annoyed at me, which is fine, because I'm annoyed at them. The gods and I walk in silence together as I make my way to Sister Yara's house. My front half is drenched by the time I reached her iron gates. The vines have clearly been using them as a lattice for years. Purple flowers shake with each gust of wind, carrying their floral scent into my nose. The smell is so pleasant. I almost forget that I'm angry at this whole damn night. The opulent 3-story house sits further back on the lush green compound. I press the button on the hip-high intercom box, perfectly placed for walk-ups. With all the niceties I can muster while holding the button down at a slight bend, I say, "Hello, I am Sister Singh. I am the sin eater you have requested." The niceties fail me, and I fall into my slightly annoyed affect after the word hello. There is no response from the shiny metal box, but a loud beep as the gates begin to move. I can't describe the delight of watching them open painfully slowly as I stand in the pouring rain, which has now decided to change direction and soak any dry spot I had. Lovely. I grumblingly think to myself as I take my first sobbing steps toward the ridiculously oversized house. After walking a full minute, I'm only halfway up the driveway. I bet she has to drive to get her mail. No one needs this much space living alone. As I walk another minute to complain to my gods, the only response I receive is a face full of annoying wind and rain. Typical. The cold, wet weather has begun to infiltrate my coat. I feel the moisture reaching my skin, allowing the wind's brutal beating to find its mark easily. Shivering, I knock on the door. The door opens, revealing a short and lean person backlit from the house with long, flowing hair. As my eyes attempt to adjust, I do the polite thing I've been trained to do and introduce myself. Again. "Good evening, ma'am. I'm..."
Conan is preferred, but you're more than welcome to use Mix or, the Viper.
They say in a quick, crisp southern accent. My brain takes a second to register the voice was coming out of the small figure in front of me. I did not expect the voice or the accent. Damn it, already off to a great start. Thank you, brain, for making assumptions, telling me they're 100% fact, and leaving me to look like an asshole. The figure stands to the side, allowing the light to illuminate their features. Before me stands an athletically built person with slim shoulders, with a round face and a slightly pushed-in nose. Their skin is a shade darker than my own, more of a mocha to my brown sugar tone. The thick, luxurious black hair flows down the shoulder. My brain takes a minute processing the image of the figure before me and wondering how they get their hair so shiny. Looking up, I notice their big eyes reminding me of the moonless night sky, staring at me, waiting for my response. "My apologies, the Viper Conan," I say, bowing slightly. I hear them chuckle as I continue. "I am Sister Singh. I'm here to help Sister Yara." Pushed into our brains. People don't particularly like talking about death and sin eating. Personally, I find it a bit silly. Death is part of life. How will we ever come to accept it if we have to talk in flowery euphemisms?
Come on in. We don't want you to catch your death out in this weather. We only want one death tonight.
They say, matter-of-factly. Walking in, I remove my useless coat and let the warmth of the house give me a bit of respite from the weather. Looking for a place to hang up the dripping thing, I glance to Conan, who is nowhere in sight. From the room to my left, I hear a small voice. "You're gonna want to leave that on. You have to go outside again." A sliver of a young boy peeks at me from behind a cracked door, his little dark brown eyes meeting mine. "Conan went that way, through the living room." He points through the archway to the right of the 2 spiraling staircases coming down from the second-floor landing. I give a small nod of gratitude to the young man. The door he peeks out of slams shut suddenly as I hear a woman's muffled voice coming through the wood, followed by the young boy responding, "Mama, I just want to see the new Sin Eater." I move away from the door as the scolding continues. Looking around, I see many of the doors are closed, even the ones upstairs. Yet I hear movement. This is odd. Sister Yara is considered a bit of a loner, but held to the highest esteem by the school. The ideal of what a sin eater should be is what they called her. She has been helping the rich and famous as well as other sin eaters for over 4 decades. It's kind of amazing she lived this long, since it's lucky for any of us to see our 50th birthday. Quickening my steps, I find Conan in a grand living room filled with several large couches and a couple of dark brown leather chairs. On the wall is what I assume is a large TV, even though it looks like a piece of art. Only the still attached cords to a gaming system give away the ruse. The dark green wallpaper makes me feel like I'm in a late 1800s study or library. The room does not look out of place, but the fact that it feels lived in does. There are dishes on one of the side tables and a half-eaten bowl of fruity-looking cereal. Servants must be taking the night off. Slips out of my mouth. Living with roommates who usually don't acknowledge me has taught me this poor habit. Unfortunately, the Viper Conan is more observant than they are.
Servants?
They ask, followed by a chuckle.
No servants. It's just us, and everyone's supposed to clean up after themselves, but sometimes the kids get a little messy and the parents get overwhelmed. I help when I can.
They say.
There have also been times when I was too tired to clean. They picked up my mess.
Other? How many people are living here? If you don't mind me asking. My curiosity is getting the better of me. I know we aren't supposed to pry, but I want to know what is going on. Putting themselves into what can only be described as automatic mode, they follow their path forward through the house while mumbling to themselves as they count all the people living there. I only catch a few clipped words.
There's Artem, and there's the Hernandezes, and there's the new one, Zara, I think?
They count absentmindedly on their fingers.
I think there's about 12 of us currently.
They say, looking back at me as they give me the final tally. 12? I exclaim, my curiosity now being piqued. I'm pushed further. Why are you all, here?
Oh, many reasons. Sister Yara takes in all sorts of so-called riffraff.
They say, making air quotes as they continue.
She allows us all to stay here rent-free while most of us rebuild our lives. Some have been rejected by their families because of their gender identity or sexual orientations. Some fled countries where they'd be killed on sight for various reasons. Some of us have possessive violent exes, like Artem. His ex tried to stab him multiple times, and no restraining order could stop her. She's a daughter of the police chief where Artem's from, even tried to have him arrested for abuse when he grabbed her wrist.
Conan calmly explains as their surprisingly quick gait allows them to effortlessly cross the rest of the living room. We enter into a large kitchen with a 5-burner stovetop, 2 refrigerators, and many cupboards and drawers hiding what I can only imagine are the most expensive food gadgets in the world. I'm interested now, so I open a large drawer, only to find a half-full recycling bin. Conan looks curiously at me. I respond with my best sheepish smile and a universal shrug for, I don't know why I did that either. Of course, this sort of awkwardness is a talent of mine. How else am I going to mess up this night? I stop myself from thinking what else could go wrong because many, many things could still go terribly wrong tonight. My wandering mind snaps back into the now as Conan opens the back door, allowing the sounds of the heavens fury into the house once more. I'm not sure why the heavens are furious tonight. I'm the one who has to sully my soul. They're the ones who put me into this calling. If they have a problem with me eating the sins of the rich, maybe they could get off their lazy asses and stop the school. I let my anger rise a bit more, let myself feel it radiate from my core. Then I simply take a deep breath and release it. I have no more control over the heavens than I do over this world, which is to say, very little. My mantra plays in my mind as I put my jacket on and step into the wind and rain. I accept my fate. I do what I have been told. This is all I can do. I follow Conan towards a small house in the distance, which I assume is a guest house or a carriage house. As we walk, I try to distract myself from the bitingly cold wind by asking, So, what brings you here? Their stride slows for a brief second before picking up again.
Well, I too had an abusive ex. I tried several times to get away, never really worked out being able to stay away.
They say. What do you mean? I ask.
Well, we had kids. They were young, and they didn't understand why I was taking them away from their daddy. They missed him. They didn't understand. He was charming when he wanted to be, and good looking. He had those big green eyes, $1,000,000 smile, and rarely heard the word no. His looks and wit gave him the skills to charm and then poison anyone's mind. I even saw him break a social worker once. Luckily for the kids, he was only abusive to me. But I didn't want my children to think that hurting their significant other was a way of showing love, or being hurt was loving. One night, he got mean. Meaner than any other time I'd seen him. Everything was wrong. The food I made, how the house was cleaned, how I was dressed. He sent me to the hospital. Wasn't the first time, but it was the worst one yet. I knew in that moment if I didn't leave, next time I would be in the morgue. He stayed by my side in the hospital no matter what. Had everyone fooled into believing he was just an amazing, caring husband. Of course, the real reason was to control me, even there, making sure I stuck to his constructed story about me falling off the roof. While he thought I was asleep, he got up to use the bathroom. Instinctively, I knew this was my chance. I quietly got out of the bed. I only had the IV connected to me since he had asked so sweetly to turn off the heart monitor as it was keeping him up. I unhooked the IV, made my way out of the room and down the hall. By luck, no one was at the nurse's station. I didn't want to tell them what had been happening since he'd already used his charms on him. A couple more words is all he needed to poison them into thinking I was the crazy one. I needed to find a safe place, but friends and family were on his side and were the first place he'd look anyway. I'd heard of a shelter on one of my attempts to leave that was located not far from the hospital. They saw my face and knew I needed help. I stumbled in there and they helped me. They had a nurse on staff who was able to look after me. She said I'd gotten past the dangerous point, so it was safe for me to stay. I left everything at the hospital, including my phone, since that's how he tracked me in the past. As I healed, they helped me get in touch with a lawyer who called him a sociopathic narcissist. They had dealt with this type of man before and believed my story. While I was in hiding, I had someone serve him papers. He didn't take it well. That night he wrote a letter to my mom, blaming me for everything. Then he did the unthinkable. He gave the boys sleeping pills and proceeded to set the house on fire. My lawyer warned me that after the papers had been served, he would become a deflated narcissist, which means unpredictable. I thought I knew what that meant. He'd only hurt me. I never ever thought he would hurt them.
They paused.
I was broken for a long time. Sister Yara found me, helped me, and gave me a place to stay. When I asked if I could stay on to help with new people, she smiled and said, "Stay as long as you'd like." I like the sound of a full house, but I needed my own space too, and she gave me that. She's a good woman. That's why I called the school.
They finished their story as we got to the door. Unfortunately, stories like this are more common in my line of work, except the sin eater is usually there to eat the bastard sin. Luckily, their ex didn't get the luxury. There are no words I could say that would help them, but I have to try. So I say, "My condolences for your loss." Conan smiles a bit, and it's obvious they have heard these words before. They gently take my hand in theirs and say,
I appreciate your condolences, but it's okay. It's been 15 years. I've been doing the work to heal myself. I can even tell the story without crying now. That's progress.
Their smile becomes more genuine as it spreads to the corner of their lips.
We've all said our goodbyes, so please help her.
Squeezing their hands in a reassuring way, I say, "I will, I promise." And for once in my life, I feel warmth starting in my stomach, which quickly fills me. I want to do my job for them and all the others in this house as well. I have the ability to do something for someone else to whom life dealt a terrible hand. With this new purpose, I step into the small building housing the dying woman. The place I find myself in can be described in one word: square. In the perfectly square space, there's a living room, kitchen, and dining room. I was a bit worried I would see a toilet in one of the corners, but thankfully there are 2 doors. I assume one leads to the bathroom, while the slightly open one must lead to the bedroom. The square was filled with knickknacks and books, with a small TV in the living room area. The pictures that line the wall are all of different people smiling, some in groups, some on vacation, some showing off something. Only one shows a smiling Sister Yara. It's an oil painting with a painted-on sticky note that reads, "I know you know what you look like, but I made this for you, and I would really like it if you put this up for me. Love, Sadie B." The place looks lived in, and by someone who tries to keep it clean, but isn't entirely successful. Finally, something I can relate to with Sister Yara. I step further into the room and veer toward the closed door to take a peek. A smirk crosses my face as I see the porcelain throne. Yes, I got one right. I quickly correct my face to a neutral expression as I open the door to Sister Yara's room. The room barely fits the twin bed where the small frame Sister Yara is lying. The dresser stands in the closet, taking up half the space, the closet doors having been removed to accommodate it. The only light comes from an overhead lamp in the shape of a seashell, with a small bedside table that has a glass of water on it, almost taking up the whole surface space. I had wondered if she moved out here from some large, elaborate room in the house to not be bothered, or possibly not bother others, since our society does not care to admit that death is an inevitability. However, looking around the room, I notice this space resembles the background of that oil painting in the other room. I think she's been living in this guest house for a while. The air does have a different quality to it. The energy is heavy, as if death sits in the corner, waiting for Sister Yara's last breath. The look of death is upon her. I can't describe the look, but when you work with the dying, you can see it in their bodies, in their faces. I've talked to doctors, nurses, hospice workers, and we all know when someone only has a couple of days or even hours left. Giving a warm, gentle smile to the figure in the bed, I say,
"Hi, Sister Yara. I'm Sister Ishani Singh. I'm here on behalf
I know why you're here, she says, interrupting my memorized greeting. Sin Eaters are probably the worst clients, I realize, since they know all the tricks of the trade. Changing gears, I decide to go off book.
Great. Since you know why I'm here and what is going to happen, are there any final words you'd like me to record before we
I
begin?
take out the shot glass, the oil pastels, a cracker, and the black book. No, she says breathlessly.
Then let's get started.
I grab my oil pastels and reach over to begin with a mark on her forehead. Placing a hand up to block me, she says, "No, I don't want anything recorded." A heavy sigh fills my brain. Of course she wants to draw this out. I just want to do what I promised the Viper and get this over with. When I'm finished, I can get out of these uncomfortable wet clothes and let this day be done. But no, you want to talk. I think all of this to myself, but outwardly I smile, put the pastels back, and nod for her to continue. Do you like being a devourer? She asks, using the official term. My training kicks in and my conscious brain turns off as I say,
I was chosen from all the women in the world for this blessed...
She waves her hand weakly in the air as she shouts rather louder than I thought she could. Bullshit! I don't want to hear that regurgitated nonsense they make you say. I want to hear from you. Her coffee brown eyes, even though sunken and frail, still hold a stern warmth in them. They compel me to tell the truth, not from fear, but from compassion. No one has actually asked me a question about me. They always wanted the spoon-fed answers from the school to help their nerves.
No, being a devourer, sin eater, or whatever the hell we do is awful. The teachers, both men and women, walked around like everything they said were these pearls of wisdom, and if you questioned it, we got beaten. I assume your school was no different than mine. Once I became 13 and troublemakers started disappearing at night, I learned to smile and recite like a good girl. But this is what I am now, and I cannot be anything else. I have no other skills. No one wants to be around me, let alone hire me. They're afraid I'll corrupt them with sin, which is stupid because I do the opposite. The gods' fates can be unfair and unjust, but it is the only choice I have.
Unsurprisingly, I feel a small familiar tear fall from my eye.
So, with that in mind, I hold on to the fact that while most sins I'll devour will come from horrible human beings, there will be a few good people. I'll enjoy those moments and savor them. And maybe my blessing won't be so bad after all.
A smile spreads on the elderly woman's face. Good. Ritual book, she says as she points to her small black book on the dresser. Cryptic response. I think to myself, but I get up to retrieve the black book. I hand it over to her, only to have her push the book back to me. I try handing it back to her again, and again she pushes it back to me. I'm not enjoying this little game after feeling so vulnerable. I just want to get this consummation done and go home. Read it, she whispers as I angrily thrust the book at her for a third time. Ugh, why is she being so difficult? I have the exact same book with the same ritual and prayers. Maybe this is what I get for speaking my truth instead of the school's truth. I have to suffer through playing little insignificant mind games with a person who has obviously lost their marbles. But fine, I'll read this stupid book. Opening up the book, I plaster the biggest, fakest smile I can muster and make a noise from my closed lips. As I continue my amazing charade, my eyes catch red writing in the book. Symbols being crossed out, new ones in the margin. My face slowly loses the smile as I begin to try and process what I'm seeing before me on the pages. A new symbol, drawn in neat little handwriting, is labeled shame guilt. What is all this? I absently say out loud. Smiling, the frail elderly woman points to the drawer in the small bedside table. I open it up, seeing a spiral notebook with purple flowers arranged upon the silvery, flashy, metallic background. A sticker of a cartoon knight with a comically large sword draped over their shoulder is affixed to the front of it. A small snicker escapes me. This is too cute. As I look back at her, she gestures for me to read the book. Cracking it open, I read in my head, Dear Diary. I slam it shut. I can't read her diary in front of her. I'm going to read it later now that I have it, but not in front of her. Her eyes light up again, and she whispers, I've marked some pages that you need to read. I'm not sure what is happening anymore at this point, but my curiosity is too intense to stop now. I flip to the first dog-eared page, a bit sheepishly, and I begin to read. Dear Diary, I've come upon my 17th birthday, and I will soon begin my holy crusade to stamp out sin. For as a sin bringer, I am now one of the fortunate chosen few who are fated to become a devourer. I shall soon be able to right my wrong. The school says that I am allowed to start 1 year earlier since they know how dedicated I am to my studies. I look forward to helping bring this noble cause to the next generation of lucky women. Oh no, this is a trap. She has been sent by the church. They're probably listening. I knew curiosity killed the cat, but I just kept following it. This is bad. I didn't know the gods were this pissed at me. My eyes dart around the room, looking for a listening device. Of course the school would have one more test. So stupid. I feel a hand on my arm, making me jump, but it's only Sister Yara. Her warmth calms me down. It's okay. Keep reading, child. I take a deep breath. I can't do anything about it now, so I guess I'll just play this out to the end. My end, most likely. Dear Diary, I've been working as a devourer for several wonderful years, stamping out sin. I love my work, and this day I got to learn even more information about our glorious order. There is a library filled with knowledge that is, of course, forbidden for others to know, since everyone knows knowledge is the root of corruption. Holy fuck, there is a library? I say, louder than I meant to. The elderly sister just nods weakly at my momentary outburst, encouraging me to continue. They want me to talk to the archivist about the sins from my next sinner. They want me to become the devourer for the head of the school, Master Conningham. He has been the head of my order since I began. I am honored and blessed to be his devourer. They will, of course, publish a reveal in the local paper about what is discovered. The last head of the school's paper reveal showed that he sinned by taking an extra egg from the fridge every breakfast. Other than that, he was perfectly clean. Reveals are the worst. Of course, the head of the order doesn't really sin because everyone knows that it will be published. Interesting to know they archive it in their fucking forbidden library. They always told us we had to report the devoured sins so they could tell us what rituals and prayers to do. I wonder if those get written down. No, they wouldn't do that. I mean, what would they do with the dead person's sin? The next entry gets my attention, though, as it is only 3 days later. The handwriting is quicker and sharper, a bit Messy even.
Dear Diary, it's been an interesting few days. I ate Master Cunningham's sins. He was not sinless. He did things. I, of course, did my duty and helped him cross without sin so his soul would be saved. However, I told the archivist everything. She just nodded her head and wrote it down like it was not a huge sin I just revealed. At the end, she simply closed the book and told me to go and talk to the second in command, the mistress. When I sat down with her, she let me know that it was okay, that she would write the reveal for the paper, and it might be missing some of the information I reported. This is to help the public, of course. They can handle the truth. She claimed this rarely happens, but she'll take care of it, that I did a great service for the school and the world. The reveal the next day stated I proclaimed him clean and he had no sins. Happy. I keep telling myself it's for the greater good. It'll be all right. Right? My stomach hurts. I'm going to go lie down. It will be okay.
As I flip to the next dog-eared entry, I catch bits and pieces from the other pages saying things like, "The school knows best. Who am I to judge them? For the greater good." And, "They would never harm me. They told me I'm the best devourer they have ever seen." Some of them are all in caps. The next dog-eared entries are several pages together, starting on March 8th, the year of the emerged sun.
Dear Diary, I don't know what to do, what to think. I'm shaking as I'm writing this. I consumed the sins of our town's leader, T. Wellington. My last one until I'm allowed to be on my own. As I was doing the ritual, watching the sins as I pulled them into the cup, I saw things, unspeakable things. It's impossible to stop the ritual once you start, and they just kept coming and coming. I witnessed a lifetime of horrors inflicted upon men, women, children, and even animals. Things I can't put down in here. Things I still see when I close my eyes, even though it's been a few days. I don't know. I messed up. When it was over and we were alone in the room and the last scent was pulled, I knew I had 15 seconds to finish the ritual. 15 seconds until death claims the soul. But I wiped the mark off my forehead. I couldn't take it in. I wouldn't. How is this helping? After about 30 to 50 seconds later, the sins did something. The sins went through the glass bottom and back into the monster. His eyes shot open, his body twisted weakly, his mouth opened. I think he was reliving his sins. When he stopped twitching and all the sins were gone, I went on to autopilot. I wiped the marks off the body and ate the cracker, told the church a lie. I did my devouring. I told the archivist that I saw these horrible sins. They simply wrote it down and told me, "Thank you for your service." They didn't react. Who doesn't react to that? What is going on? I think I need to talk to the mistress. I'm going to tell her what happened. The church needs to know what kind of man T. Wellington was and what happened.
As I finished this entry, my brain finally finished processing the beginning of the story.
The sins can go back in? But what? Huh?
A small chuckle escapes Sister Eyaru's mouth, and she whispers, "That was my thought too." It's safe to say that now I'm invested in whatever else these diaries contain, and what else I might not know. So I continue to read. Curiosity might have killed that cat, but satisfaction is bringing him back. The next entry is dated 2 weeks later. Dear Diary, something is wrong here. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the broken piece. I hope that's what it is. I talked to the mistress about what had happened. I began by telling her the sins, and before I could tell her what I did, I froze. She smiled brightly at me and asked me if I had told the archivist this information.
I told her that I had, and she seemed even brighter and praised me for the work and how proud she was of me being able to take in so much sin without getting too sick. She said that I should represent the school for the elites in the area, that I was the greatest gift from the God above to help rid the world of that sin so that poor man could rest at peace. I don't know what happened next. I seem to have blacked out. I came to as I was saying the words, "Of course, mistress. I'd love to be the devourer of the elite. They need saving too." I had a weird smile on my face. I don't know why. I cried for 3 days straight after that, anytime I was alone in the room. Yet in public, I just smiled like everything was okay, and everyone around me was acting like this was normal. This is not normal. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know this school anymore. I don't know what to do. I need to move out. Figure out what's going on in my head. The school's no help. Praying daily hasn't helped the nightmares. Hasn't helped the shame I feel. But I feel like he deserved it. He deserved to feel what he had done to all of them. I must be broken.
The next entry begins on April 1st of the same year.
Dear Diary, I'm no longer living at the school. Now that I have space, I'm starting to realize the school was lying to me. I went back into my teachings about devouring the sin in 15 seconds. I always just did it. It was what I was supposed to do. I forgot the reason. I just fucking did what they told me to. The reason stated in the book is because after 15 seconds, if death claims the body and the sin isn't devoured, then the sin will go into the air and seek out the nearest child to corrupt. Fear tactics. They were using fear tactics. I didn't even question it. How did I not question it? I just took it all in. Such a fool. I tried to talk to the head of the police about what I've witnessed, but when I met them, they were so happy to meet the devourer of T. Wellington and how he was such a good man. He gave so much money to them and to the school that I had done a great service. The new town's leader was not much better, saying they hoped I would devour their sins when the time came. Also, being a devourer, no one wants to sit too long with me or touch me or even look me in the eye in case I read their minds or infect them with sin. I don't know what to do. Can I do anything? I have to try, right? I don't know. I need sleep. I feel like I always need sleep nowadays.
The next marked entry takes place almost a full year later. The date is April 2nd of the beginning of the morning sun.
Dear Diary, I have ruled out telling anyone. Either the person won't listen or they are actively helping the school or gaining something from them. I've completely stopped eating the sins of the elite and the powerful. Watching their faces as they take back their sins brings me happiness. I take happiness knowing that their souls will go to wherever it needs to go or come back into the cycle where it deserves to be. Either way, I'm not allowing the souls to jump the line or go to a place where their victims surely reside. I want to know more. There must be other things they are keeping secret. If I can just get into the library. The school still thinks I'm the golden child from the ranks. I think I can use that somehow to get into the library. Maybe there is something in there I can take them down with. I'll keep thinking.
I quickly flip to the next dog-eared page, dated 2 months later.
Dear Diary, I have figured out how to get into the library unattended. Being the golden child seems to have its perks. Didn't even need much convincing. I told them I just wanted to help do some research into how we could possibly hold more sins inside one body. The mistress loved my idea and had me work with one of the elder brothers of the library, since no one is to be unattended in the library. The one assigned to help me was Brother Adalberto. Turns out our order started off by having women use their entire bodies, writhing upon the dying to take in the sin. Ugh. I had Brother Adalberto check to see if anything in those books would help me with our holy mission. He gladly took up the portion of library, leaving me alone. The only sign of him was occasional footsteps as he made his many trips to the restroom. The only thing I was able to get today was that recorded sins have been used to manipulate families of the dead, or flat out leaked when the family does something the school disapproves of. This is not a holy mission. This is money and greed and power. How was I part of this awful machine? Today was difficult, with my world slowly chipping apart into oblivion. I need to take a long shower and get some rest.
The next entry is 5 months later.
Dear Diary, I know it's been a bit, but each day I felt more anger, more betrayal. And by the time I would get home and let my mask slip, I couldn't think, I couldn't write. My library privilege has ended for now. I told them some lie that pressing the school's holy symbol into the crackers would help dissolve some of the sin before it permeates into the devourer's soul. It might not be a lie. I don't know. I read that one of the sisters observed sin reducing when the holy symbol was put near it. I'm not sure how truthful that report was, but I don't care.
So that is why all the crackers have to come from the school and have the symbol. I remember the pictures of the crackers in the old school books being just plain round crackers. When I asked about it, I was told the symbols were added to help with our digestion. I continue with the entry.
So I was able to sneak little bits of paper out with some information I learned. They lied about prayer getting rid of sin. They're not sure what gets rid of it, but through devourers eating other devourers' sins, they can see that some have balanced. Balance is their stupid lying word, making us feel like we could actually balance ourselves out again. They knew devourers will suffer in the afterlife to pay off other people's debt. They used the same words to brainwash me. It's the greatest good. Women have an obligation since they brought sin here. They are doing gods or goddesses, depending on the text, work. They knew about the sin going back into the body after 45 seconds. They knew. And there was a time when devourers were allowed to choose if we took it in or not. But they took that away from us. They made us believe we don't have a choice. There have been male senators too, but they stopped allowing that in the age of the stone moon. Wasting a man for a woman's misdeed should not be tolerated, is what they wrote. They struck it all from the records. Being gay or transgender has been around since the archives began, by the way, and no one who has been gay or transgender has revealed a sin for their sinful nature, which means the school knows they're not sinning. There is no sin around being gay or transgender. Here I was told that I could never eat the sins of a gay person or transgender. It was forbidden. They said if I even tried it, I would die from the sin. It was so heavy. What is the point of that? Why would you lie about that? It makes no sense. What the fuck?
The entry ends there. The entry ends there, which I assume means that she stood up, cursing loudly and punching the air. Not gonna lie, reading this, I feel the desire to follow suit. I'm so excited. I hope she does take down the stupid school, even though I know she isn't going to since I was raised in that stupid school myself. This is a test by the mistress. I'm very confused. I need to know what happens next. The next entry is from the next day.
Dear Diary, I've calmed down and I was looking back over my notes. I forgot an interesting bit I found. There was a symbol in one of the books. It is similar to the mark. There's a symbol in one of the books. It is similar to the mark. There's a symbol in one of the books. It is similar to the sin mark we put on the sinner's forehead, except the line that usually runs through it has 3 dots with a circle enclosing it. Under that, it says turpa, mea culpa. It means shame, my guilt. It says that you cannot force them, that they have to be wanting, ready to let it go. The book states it does not kill the person, just lightens them. I don't trust anything about this school. Maybe this is more lies. The book said it's not to be used because it lacks profit and isn't very successful in the elite, since they do not think they have done much wrong or harm to anyone. They hold little to no guilt nor shame for their poor decisions, and that is why their choices become sins, for they know it's wrong and they don't care. They think it's their birthright. Also, the school does not want others to know their tricks of the trade. Devouring leads to death, and dead people are the best at keeping secrets. I think I need to figure out a way to try this new symbol and see if it does anything.
The symbol drawn in the diary is the same as the one I saw in the book. Goosebumps raise on my arm as I continue to flip to the next dog-eared page 6 months later. Dear Diary. The symbol worked! It worked! Raphael is fine, and it's been 24 hours and he's still alive.
Who in the 9 gates of hell is Raphael?
I say, needing to know the answer right now, kind of angry I don't know it. I start flipping through the unmarked pages. I mean, what kind of diary assumes that I would know who Raphael is? He was a dear friend of mine. I met him outside an AA meeting when I needed help with a symbol. He had so much pain. The guilt and shame of his past was killing him. He thought the worst case, he would be dead. And he was okay with that outcome. He was a good man. Stayed sober, too. After that night. The frail sister says slowly, straining with each breath, but understanding my intense need to know. I instinctively reach out and give her a tiny hand to squeeze as a thank you before continuing to read. It worked! Do you know what this means? Oh, I can actually help people. I don't have to just act like I'm eating sins of those awful monsters. I can actually help people. I can do what I thought I was doing this whole time. It might not right the wrong of allowing some of those people to leave this mortal coil without their horrid sins, but it's something. Now I play my part as the devourer for the rich and the elite, pretend to eat those monster sins, taking pleasure watching them relive what they did, smile and record it for the school. But I'll also work with Raphael to help those heavy with guilt and shame. It's a risk, but I have to do it. I want to. I'm not sure society will be ready for the truth in my lifetime. But change is the only constant, and I'll be ready when it's time to expose them. There's only one dog-eared page left at the very end of the diary. I can sense the resistance rising in me, knowing whatever it says will be the end. I don't want this to end. I don't want her to end. Gods, why couldn't I have met this woman sooner instead of on her deathbed? The answer floats into my consciousness from the depths of my subconscious. I wouldn't have believed a single word she said, or I might have even said something to the school because I thought it was a test. After what I have read, I know this is not a test from the school. Taking a deep breath, I turn to the last page. Different handwriting adorns the top of the page with today's date. Dear Sister Singh, I know you might have some questions for me, but before you ask, let me see if I can answer some of them, since I don't know how much energy I will have when I meet you. Yes, I cannot hold a pen to write this, so mix Cohen. Nope. Yes, I cannot hold... Yes, I cannot hold a pen to write this, so mix Conane. Okay. Yes, I cannot hold a pen to write this, so Mix Conane will be writing this entry. I was angry in my youth, and I got great joy from making them suffer. Even though I started this out of spite, I realized that sometimes you can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. For years, I've wrestled with this and had some feelings of shame, like I am a horrible. For years, I've wrestled with this and had some feelings of shame, like I am horrible, to guilt, like I am making a mistake. Through the years, sorry, do you need to do a pause there? No. Okay. Through the years, I have come to make peace. That's not the right word. Through the years, I have come to peace with my choice, and I've realized what I was doing. I'll try that again. Through the years, I have come to peace. I've come to peace. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Through the years, I've come to peace with my choices. My choice. Okay, it's not choices. Mm-hmm. Okay. Through the years, I have come to peace with my choice, and I realized what I was doing. I was letting the souls grow and evolve
instead of allowing them to maintain. I was letting the souls grow and evolve instead of allowing them to remain stunted. For me, the sins they allow. For me, the sins. Okay. For me, the sins they leave will allow.
You're okay. Take a deep breath.
Okay. Through the years, I have come to peace with my choice, and I realized what I was doing. I was letting the souls grow and evolve instead of allowing them to remain stunted. For me, the sins they leave with allow them to go on or be reborn where they need to be. Maybe a lifetime of being a slug teaches them humility or fragility, letting them become better. Maybe a lifetime of being a slug teaches them humility or fragility, letting them become a better human. Letting them become better humans. Okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe a lifetime of being a slug teaches them humility or fragility, letting them become better humans when they have the chance. Maybe that's an excuse. I'll find out if I'm right or wrong soon enough. As for any sin still in my soul from others, I have made peace with that, and I'm willing to carry them into whatever fates the after. As for the sins on my... As for any sin still in my soul from others... Cuckoo. You can pause it, because... As for any sin still in my soul from others, I've made peace with that, and I'm willing to carry them into whatever the fates of the afterlife deem appropriate. I know you have a job to do, but I don't need another person to suffer the sins I hold inside. The house will belong to McConane when I pass, and they will continue to help those in need. However, I know they would love help from another devourer, one willing to consume guilt and shame. You may not be aware of this, but the school sent you to me because they want you to take up my mantle of consuming the sins of the elite if you survive consuming mine. Here is where I will let you know why I had you read that. I have talked to some sisters about you, sisters who I trust. They spoke highly of you, that you smile for the school and say the correct answer when necessary, but when you think no one is looking, you show a hint of repulsion for the school. A defiance that apparently you kept in your heart even years after they thought they broke you. I read your file, and I saw that fire that I only learned about later in life. Strings were pulled to get you here tonight with me, not for the school, but for me. I present to you a choice, something so often present, but rarely so obvious, especially in our teaching, which lie and hide them from us. You can choose to continue to work for the school, take my sins and report what you have heard, or you can walk out of this room and show McConane that you're on their side. You can continue the work I started and help a lot of people while you wait for society to be ready. I'll try that again. You can continue the work I started and help a lot of people while you wait for society to be ready and help herald in a new dawn. I don't want to pressure you. You've had a lot of that from the school. This is your choice. As I finish reading, I just sit there, dumbfounded. There are people who might think the way I do out there. I'm not alone. I have a choice. I've never been allowed to choose anything. I know the choice is between a rock and a hard place, but a warmth is settling in my chest. I blink my eyes in confusion as tears roll down my cheeks. Power over myself. I never thought I would know this feeling. I look over at my new favorite person, Sister Yara. She is simply watching me with a warm smile, no pressure, no expectation, allowing me to decide. I'm going to bask in this wonderful new feeling before I make a final decision. Whatever happens next, it'll be my choice.